Welcome back to the show. It's a topic we have discussed before on the show with my next guest, and that is economic abuse. And it's new to many people out there, but it shouldn't be. And there's some new results of a study that we're really excited to share with you here today. I'm joined by Niha Shahzad. She's the Director of Research at the Canadian Centre for Women's Empowerment. Welcome back. Great to have you here, as I said, Niha. When you were here last, we talked about that this particular study was coming. So let's just refamiliarize ourselves as a host and as our viewers. What was the importance of this study?
So this study is the first national study on economic abuse done in Canada. So as I talked about before, the CCFWE did do another study, which was the first economic abuse study in the National Capital Region in Canada. But this is the first one we've done on a national scale. So this one can show us a little bit more about social services and about financial institutions, because we specifically wanted to target those populations.
Right.
It's the first of its kind.
For people that aren't aware of what economic abuse is, tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so economic abuse is a type of abuse where an abuser tries to control or manipulate or steal economic resources from a victim. So that can be anything from taking out credit cards in the victim's name, outright stealing money, but also preventing the victim from paying important bills like rent or utilities or phone, preventing them from going to a job or from getting an education.
And hiding much of what's going on too, right? Which is a big part of it, and that leaves the victim of economic abuse with very little at the end of a relationship, right? I guess this is one of the biggest issues.
That's right. There's a lot of hidden things that come with economic abuse, where victims come out and they don't know that even their account's been put in their name, because the abuser has access to all of their personal information.
Right.
So credit cards that they didn't know about, or lines of credit or debt. And so it completely destroys a victim's credit score, which makes it very hard for them to rebuild afterwards, because everything in our society is tied to a credit score.
Of course. So let's dive into this national study a little bit more. What are some of the results?
So on the victims and survivors side, one of the key findings that I found really interesting was that most of the victims and survivors said that financial institutions weren't able to keep their safety and privacy and confidentiality, which was interesting to me, because we know that financial institutions have those policies in place.
Right.
But sometimes when it comes to intimate partners, sometimes there's like a little bit more like flexibility or confusion about what to keep quiet and what to keep separate. So that was something interesting there. On the social services side, we found that most of them knew about economic abuse, which is great, but around 60% said that they didn't have any particular training on economic abuse. So we're actually working with social services providers to help kind of mitigate that and provide them with a screening tool and an educational resource kit so that they can walk through steps with their survivors and victims.
I think you touched on this last time, and that is technology and how it can facilitate and kind of perpetuate this kind of economic abuse. Within this study, did you look at that at all?
We didn't look at it specifically, but we have looked at it in our research before. And as you probably know, the prevalence of digital technology, like while very convenient, the surveillance that comes from it can be really troubling, because the abuser now can keep all of these different tabs on a victim, where she's going or where they're coming back from, all of these things where a victim might use, like for example, going out to their job, they might use that to go get groceries and things like that. But if a person's being economically abused, the abuser wouldn't want a victim to go out and buy all these different things that even they might need for the household.
Right.
And even when it comes to your bank, you get now a notification anytime you spend any money from your bank. So if you have a joint account, that can be really troubling for a victim, because they're trying to just get resources that meet their basic needs, and that information can go straight to the abuser.
What about policies and laws? I'm sure there are some in place. How effective are they, or ineffective are they?
Yeah, for sure. So right now in Canada, in the Divorce Act, there is the stipulation that financial abuse does count as a form of family violence. It doesn't cover the whole umbrella of economic abuse, sadly, and that's something that we are advocating for policymakers to actually include within the definition. And that can be a huge thing, because when a divorce proceeding goes to court, economic abuse can then be used from the victim's point of view to show that, you know what, I was abused in these and these ways. It wasn't just physical abuse or emotional abuse or things like that. And that legal precedent can really help build victims' legal case.
Do you have any promise? Are you encouraged that any of these policies or any of these laws will change?
There is some promising things. So actually, CCFWE will be relaunching our petition in the House of Commons to have this definition within the Divorce Act. So that'll be coming this year. And we've had some great conversations with Women and Gender Equality Canada and with Financial Consumer Agency of Canada, where we think we're making some progress on the policy side for sure. So there is a lot of promise.
Any suggestions for other improvements that could be made?
Definitely. So a lot of things that came out from the study was that we need screening tools and educational resources for frontline providers, so financial institutions along with social service providers. We are working, like I said, on the social services side with the screening tool, but we encourage financial institutions to reach out to us and put those tools into place, because our study showed that even though they have policies in place on the elder financial abuse side, most financial institution staff, like less than a third, have had any training on economic abuse in the intimate partner violence side.
Right.
So it could be just a fact of duplicating those policies for domestic abuse survivors. So that's something there. And for legal services, accessing legal services is a huge barrier to
and you know what I'll
victims.
do? I'll send people to the website. We just brought it up because I know you have many resources there. Results of the study. We'll be right back after this.